Okay, well, hi. Welcome to another Miracle Monday where we have conversations. And so today we have my amazing brother as well. So it's Miracle Mondays with Mom, Lynn, Mel, and Brad. But these are the kinds of conversations that we have, the three of us, all the time. And so we want to bring them to you in the hopes that something that we say will inspire you in some way, somehow. So here we go. Okay, so we did a little tiny powwow beforehand to just see what we wanted to talk about today. And I think the theme, what's funny is because that's what my reel was on, Brad. I just was saying like that I just posted a reel. So on change, because I think this year is, or this time of year, people are talking about change, goals, what they want to change. Um, But often it's like you start off the year strong and then it fizzles away. So let's talk about change and what sort of how we do it different, some of the changes that maybe we've made in our lives and when it's been easy or not. And let's just talk about change. Who has a thought on change? Don't
Mom,
all jump at
they're
once.
the they're here to see you, Mom.
Well, they're here to see everybody, but
No.
I do feel like, change honestly is easy if we're fully aligned. So too many times, especially at the beginning of the year, I think people think, well, I should do this and I should do this and I should do that. And we're told that we should have all these New Year's resolutions and all these things, which we kind of talked about before. But I think with change, it becomes easy when it's aligned with our values and our purpose in life and who we
Yeah.
are. So, I think for all three of us, we always go to, even unconsciously, it's just unconscious that what's our purpose in doing this? What's our higher purpose in doing it? Who are we that it's important that we do that? And what are our values? What do we truly value? So I think if you take those things into consideration instead of the thing you want to do, I think that's when change can happen. And otherwise, I think it's just a struggle. You struggle and struggle until you finally either get it or don't even care anymore. But, anyways, that's just my thought. So,
And I mean,
Mhm.
I think that as much as this, like, the purpose of Miracle Mondays isn't to talk about, say, the work that we do, but the interesting thing as you're saying that is like, Brad, you mentioned the logical levels, like in our, and it's, I don't know, the word isn't necessarily funny, but it's funny that we live our lives that way. So when we're wanting to make a change, we do what we do with our clients, like for ourselves, right? In that we connect whatever it is that we want with something at a higher level versus just saying we want something because maybe we should or everybody else is doing it or whatever. So Brad, this was
Mhm.
your like
Mhm.
you were the instigator of this conversation. So what are your thoughts on all of
Yeah.
this?
Oh no, that's like I love these conversations because change, I feel like there's a lot of dynamics around change. Just looking at my own experience too, like, I think change can happen or be facilitated or initiated, I guess is a better word, like through hardship too, or like struggle, like, and thinking about my experience in the fire service and then having to make that change of like, hey, this is not happening anymore. And like a big thing for me is acceptance, like accepting where you are to be able to begin that process of change. And because I think for me accepting that, hey, this is the way that this is, I'm not going back to this job, this profession, this identity that I had, all these other things, right? And
Mhm.
now to move forward, and make change, I really had to accept where I was to open up the possibilities of where that would go, right? So for me, like I think in my experience, acceptance of where you are, the situation, allowed me to open up to those possibilities of,
I love that because I think one of the things we're all really good at, especially sort of like successful, capable, driven people, is we can keep pushing. I mean, in your situation, you probably couldn't have for much longer, but like just generally speaking, we're good at just pushing and continuing on and not stopping to actually be honest with ourselves about the reality of whatever. So for you at that moment, like stopping to go like and I know your body stopped you too. Like I know that
Mhm.
there's more to it than that. Um, but if we don't ever stop and pay attention, we could go until we can't go
Yeah,
anymore, you know?
yeah. No, I think it's just like I think acceptance of where you are, and like even when you think about, I thought about learning, like the learning cycle too, like unconscious incompetence. It's like you don't know what you don't know, and then like it's very similar in change. Like you don't know what you don't know, and then kind of like okay, accepting that okay, yeah, maybe this does need to change, and it's kind of like consciously aware that okay, something needs to be done, but not, I don't know what to do yet. And then, as we kind of work through that stuff, and maybe, like I know you guys talk about setting goals, and maybe we think about what we want in our life. Like that's why also for me, working with solution focused influence in like working with my clients, like thinking, the miracle question, like if you woke up tomorrow and a miracle happened and, your life was completely exactly the way that you wanted it to be, what would that look like? What would people notice about you? Like all those things. And now we start to like make some shifts of like the possibility, right? And now we start putting in the work of that, that conscious kind of conscious competence. Anyways, it started making me think about how everything is so intertwined there. And I think it's important to recognize like accepting where you are to be able to move forward, I think
Yeah.
is just a big, huge
Well, it's
step.
like you need to have an awareness
Yeah.
and then accept. And if you don't have an awareness and you don't accept, well, then your life is going to stay exactly the same,
Yeah.
period. You'll just keep
Like
going.
mom, I know, depending on what you want to talk about, but like I know that has, come up for you in our conversations about accepting where
Hmm.
you are, right?
Yeah.
Like yeah, and then being able to, accept where you are to move forward, to make changes and live the life that you want to live based on, for you, some health stuff, for me, this, for Mel, this, like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, the story is different for each person, but the fundamentals are kind of the same. So, Mom, what do you want?
Well,
Does
I was
anything come
thinking,
up?
I totally agree with all of it. And there's an interesting thing in terms for me, just because of what I've just experienced,
hmm
and that is the acceptance part. So I totally agree. It's about accepting where you are. But then at one point, I felt that acceptance kept me stuck as well.
Hmm.
So I think there's
Hmm.
a fine line
hmm
between accepting it and then, like you said, Brad, okay, now what?
hmm
You have to be careful that you don't miss out on the and now what,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
I wanted to be
Yeah.
so accepting of what was happening and then yeah, I just realized, well, I needed to go beyond the acceptance. Was acceptance
Yeah.
keeping me stuck?
Hmm.
So I think there's so many elements to this,
Yeah. No,
you
I
know?
like that.
Yeah.
I really think that that is a good point to make for people to kind of look at too, because just because you accept it, okay, well, because you could also, depending on what belief you have about that thing, whatever it is like, well, okay, this is just the way I am then,
That's right. And
right?
then
And
Mhm.
you
that's not
stay.
what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that this is where I am, and now, hopefully I can loosen some things up and do some discovery of, where I want to be based on where I am,
Yeah.
not
That's such an
not
important
stuck here.
piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, there's so many elements to it. And then again, I think underlying, and you mentioned this before, Brad, and we talk about this all the time, but I think then we really do look at we're being driven by who we are at the core, really, and what our beliefs are and our values and so on. And when we have a problem, sometimes it's not easy to go to those places to remember those things. We just look at the problem and not the core of who we are and how we can make those changes.
Hmm.
Yeah. And if we don't look at the core of who we are, then we might move in a direction that creates sort of like an inner conflict or, more discomfort, more misalignment, right? If we
Hmm.
don't like what popped into my mind, which isn't even about change, but was just about that chunk of time with Steve, where I like with Steve and Natasha, where I probably shouldn't say names, but that's okay, nobody knows them. Like where I knew who I was, so that guided my behavior. Like when you really know who you are, then you can that guides your next step. Again, when you're aware of it, when you're conscious of it, when you take the time to figure out who do I want to be, how do I want to show up, and then you behave that way. Like again, it's one thing to be like, I'm a kind and loving person, but then if you go and you treat everybody like
Yep.
poo poo caca,
Yeah.
then it doesn't really matter that you've said that you want to be a kind and loving person. Like it all needs to line up, our actions, our behavior, our choices. But the more we know about who we are, it's like a guidepost for everything, right?
And to remember it in the middle of the drama, trauma. It's not that it's easy, but if you think that once this is over, I will be, then it just doesn't,
Yeah.
it's not the same. It doesn't get you through it in the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also just what's coming to my mind too, and I think all of these things are so good. It's that even if I do make a change, it doesn't have to be forever.
Yes.
I can make a change and go, okay, no, this isn't what I want. But and just being able to try things, being open and accepting of like, hey, I'm just gonna, this is the way I'm going, and it's not okay, it's not working. So what's not aligned and where, maybe I want to maybe try something else now. And so making those changes, I think, is just it's more about like moving towards something and then we can decide because it's going to branch off many times in your lifetime, and you don't know what's going to happen. So just being open to the fact that, hey, maybe I have to make a lot of changes at different times in my life, and just because I make one doesn't mean I'm stuck there.
Right.
And I think that sort of I mean I've noticed a lot with my clients. It's like what holds people back from making change is like that feeling like once you make it, it's for the rest of your life. And so I better
Yeah.
make sure I make the right choice and I better make sure I've looked at all of my options and I better make sure. And it's like analysis paralysis of, needing it to be just perfect versus like if we're flexible and we're constantly sort of eye on the goal, eye on the prize, eye on the life that we want to live, well, then we make a change. And if the
Yeah.
change doesn't feel right, isn't aligned, isn't whatever, well, then we make another change. And then like, but I do think people get caught in living their life the same, the same, the same, the same, because they feel like they need to get it right if they're going to make a change, like, versus just almost playing with it. Like life is just, you know,
Well, and
yeah,
I think it's also fear, right?
yeah,
Fear of the unknown.
yeah,
And depending on what you believe about the unknown or making changes, will drive your, perception of that and limit you or, you know, enable you to make those changes. And yeah, I just think it's important to kind of notice that as well. Like the fear part of the unknown is the unknown, am I afraid of it? Am I just happy to stay where I am because of not because I'm happy here, but because I'm more afraid of that
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
Or do I believe that, hey, this is an opportunity for me to explore things, right? In the unknown. Like I don't know what's going to happen, and we don't ever know what's going to happen, but
Yeah.
let's go,
You're
right?
not kidding.
Yeah. So there's that part too. I think the fear driven versus the opportunity, what do you believe about the unknown? Are you fearful of it, or is it a exploration or opportunity, right?
And because I think you said something real, I mean, all of that was really important, but I think like a really interesting thing about us as humans is we feel the need to kind of like control and think we know what the outcome is. But no matter how hard we try, no matter how much we dot our I's and cross our T's and do everything like perfectly, the truth is we have no clue what the future holds. So we just have to do what feels right now and is going to make us happy. Mom, what do you, yeah, go.
Um, I keep having a thought that, and it flips when I listen to both of you. So I have a thought, but I want to listen to you. And so then the thought
They
moves.
have these things called pens you can
So
in a
next time
paper
I'm
and you
just
can
going to
like write it
interrupt
down and
when the thought comes into my head, because I'm sure it's really important.
I
I
know I
keep
can see
losing
you
it when
like,
I pay
that's why I
attention to
stopped.
you. So, um, darn. Oh, I know what it is. If we want to move forward, I don't even know if this is aligned with what we're talking about,
Yeah,
but
it is.
we have to be careful. Too many people, they say they want to change, but what they do is they spend all their time in the past looking for what did I do wrong? Why did this happen to me? And I think the minute you go there, you've completely lost the momentum moving forward. And it's tempting, and a lot of teachings out there are looking at why this happened, what did you
Peeling the layers
do?
of the onion.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, no, if you go to that, of course, this is my opinion, but if you keep
This
looking
is the
for,
Lynn show.
if you keep looking for why did this happen? What did I do wrong? How the heck are you going to come up with a new way of doing it if all your focused attention is on why and blaming yourself or blaming others or whatever? It's just like there's absolutely no positive purpose in looking for the why. It absolutely keeps you stuck, and there's no room for you to move forward to make the change that you say you want to make.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to
Yeah, I
share.
mean that's a huge conversation. Like that's a probably a whole nother miracle Monday or five is people getting caught in the why and not understanding, I mean, not understanding how stuck that keeps us. So this this conversation is going to land with people the beginning of January, like next week. So in 1 week from today, whatever that is, but I know it's January by then. And so, of course, change is going to be on people's mind. People are going to be setting New Year's resolutions. They're going to be setting goals. That's all we see everywhere is, and it is, although I think we did talk about it last time, I don't really believe in New Year's resolutions, but it is a nice time to like set the intention on what we want, this year to be. But keeping in mind, people who are listening to this are getting bombarded with New Year's resolutions, setting goals, work harder, do more, all of the things, be a better you, work out more, eat better, high protein, build your business, wake up at 4 a.m. Like, they're going to be bombarded with a million different things. What do we want to share with those listening about changes that they might want to make? Like I know we've talked about a lot of different things, but sort of to bring it really to the point of our listeners are listening. It's the beginning of January. They're getting bombarded. We know everyone who listens to us is on a journey of, wanting to live their best life. They wouldn't take their time to listen to us if they weren't aligned with us. And so, what's sort of like the most important thing for those people in our minds about the changes that they want to make in 2026 in their life, whether it be health, business, relationship, doesn't matter what it is. But what do we think is the most important thing from the way all three of us live our lives and what we do with clients and NLP and like all of it? What do we think is most important for listeners to take away from this conversation that could be helpful?
Mom?
Well, Brad,
Um, I mean, so many things.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is relative, but just to be a little bit, thinking about overall stuff, like, it's good to have goals. Like, I think those are kind of like our roadmap. If we look at it from like a Google map kind of thing, like if we don't punch in an address of where we want to go, we're just driving around the streets, whatever, and then so I think it's, obviously good to have goals and, stuff gets hard along the way, then it reroutes us to other, another way to get to where we want to go. And sometimes that changes a bunch of times as we're on that way. I think that also just only focusing on those goals, maybe we get to a place where it's not, we kind of find ourselves unmotivated, right? So I think the biggest thing is like, remember to look back and reflect on like how far you've actually come at where you are. So accepting where you are on the way to whatever it is, changes that you're making, accepting where you are at this point and like taking the time to look back down the mountain, turn around and look back down and see how far you've climbed up this mountain, right? And so, a lot of times we just like stand there in the middle of the mountain and we look at the top and go, "Oh my God, that's so far. Like I'm never going to make that change. I'm never going to get to the top. Like I'm just going to, give up." Versus, hey, let's just spin around, turn around and look down the mountain and look at how far I've actually come and climbed up to this point. Now guess what? When I do that, now I only have this far to go versus looking at it from the other way. I have that much more to go, right? And so that can help just kind of motivate you to keep going. And that would be my biggest thing is, take a little time to reflect and just look at like how far you've actually come to where you are and making all these changes in your life. And it doesn't have to be big. All those little things add up to, getting you to where you want to be. So
I love that. I love that.
I kind
Yeah.
of rambled. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
No,
total.
yeah, it makes total
okay.
sense. And I
Okay,
think
good.
it's really beautiful. It's
Okay.
like look, even, it's from a New Year's perspective, it's like looking back on 2025 and all that you've accomplished and feeling really amazing about it
Yeah.
is another, but on the journey to change. I mean, I think that's super helpful. Mom, what do you think is,
Well, I think that there's a couple of things. Like one, I think we have to be careful. So having goals, like knowing what you want, and as we've said many times, like in your heart and soul, not just on paper, this is the thing I should want. But I think that just not expecting that today I know every step I need to take in order to get to that end result. Because I'll take one step and I don't know really where that's going to land me.
yeah,
And based on where I land, having moved forward in that way, now I can look around and go, okay, what's my next step? And what's my next step? If I plan the whole thing and I'm going to do this and then this and then this and then this, opportunities could be standing right in front of me and I will not see them because I think I know what needs to be done. And again, in fairness, that's what a lot of strategies teach, right? You have a 5 year goal, you have a 3 year goal, you have a 1 year goal, you have a 6 month goal, you have it's right down to the minute. And it's just like, no, you have to take action first. And then what's the result? So, as Brad had his great metaphor, I love your
yeah,
metaphors, and I rarely speak in metaphors. And so I'm thinking the success strategy that we teach, right? So what is it you want? Then you take action. Then you observe, am I going in the right direction when I take this action? If the answer is yes, then great, just keep going. But if the answer is no, then go back to this is still what I want. You don't have to let go of what you want. But now you have to take different action. And then again, observe that action. Is it getting me where I want to go? If it is, great. If it isn't, back I go to changing that strategy. So you never have to let go of what it is you want. You just have to be willing to get to it in a flexible, fluent way.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
I love that too. And it's like, because if something doesn't work, it doesn't mean you're not achieving whatever it is that you want. It just means you not need to regroup and figure out what
Exactly.
next. Yeah, I think that's awesome too. So
Yeah.
those are both what,
Can I just say one comment on that? I love that. And I guess because I like to speak in metaphors, what it reminded me of is golfing. So we're still trying to get the ball in the hole, right? But again, it's perspective. So I hit the ball, I shank it way to the left, and I'm way off this over here, but that doesn't mean I'm not still trying to get the ball in the hole. And it's like, okay, accepting where I am over here, am I closer to the hole? Yep, I sure am. Okay, good. I may be way over here to the left, but I'm closer to the hole still. And then I hit it again, and now I shank it way to the right, to way off track, way to the right, but I'm still trying to get the ball in the hole. Am I
yeah.
closer to the hole? Yes, I am. Like,
Yeah.
again, it's just perspective, and I I know, sorry I use all those metaphors, but man, it's like,
Well,
um,
it's good
you
because
know,
you're constantly working towards getting the ball in the hole. The only way
Yeah.
you're not going to is if you throw your club, get PO'd, throw your club, and walk off the course.
yeah,
But other
Yeah.
than that, you're still working towards the same goal. So it's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I feel like what I would love to encourage listeners to do with regards to change is allow themselves to dream. So I think we can be so logical as like adults who have been through life. And again, I think it's more comfortable to say set SMART goals and do things like that, like logical, linear, measurable, all of those things. I think it's more challenging for us to dream as adults because our logical mind can get in the way of like, well, I can't do that because of this and that and this and that, and I can't. And so I just think that this is our one life and we are creating it. And yes, life throws a whole bunch of things that stop us or pause us or change whatever. Like, yes, we're not in 100% control of our life, but dreaming is fun. And like there's so much possibility. Like when you think of the vastness of this world, if you like, in my mind, sometimes I like go up and scan like the world. I know that sounds like weird, but I scan like all that's possible, like all the different people and possibilities and things that people are doing and like all of these things. And I just think, we think so small in our little lives of and I'm not talking about grandiose goals. I'm just saying, like, to dream about what you'd love your life to be like, how you'd love to feel if, kind of like what you said at the very beginning, Brad. Like, if I woke up and, like, miracle, like, I could have anything I wanted and be anywhere, do anything, whatever, what would that be? I think that allowing ourselves to dream, whether that's health, relationship, finances, experiences, which you need to have health, finances, and all those other things, maybe to have some of like, if it's travel, I just think dream. Like, don't be afraid to dream because you're getting so logical on all the things that could possibly stop you from changing. Like if you want to, I see people that are in bodybuilding competitions or whatever, like they've got to have a vision so big to be able to then do all the things with diet and exercise and all of these things in order to get on that stage. Like they just dream. They see some person with these rippled bodies and then they do, I don't know. I just think dream. Like I know that's a lot more sort of, I'm going to say woo woo than both of your very logical
responses.
Yeah, suggestions. Um, and I think they're so important what both of you shared and reflecting. I mean, I've been doing a lot of looking back at 2025 and going like, look what I actually look what 2025 actually was. It's like I moved and we finished our place and I moved and I launched Midlife Awakening and had like the 10 women and then I designed the program and I've done the program like and all of these things. It's like wow, when you actually stop like you said, Brad, and look back and at what you've accomplished, it it feels so different than only looking at where you haven't gotten yet, so to
Mhm.
speak. Right? And anyways,
So I was just going to say, really, sorry to interrupt, but
no.
you know, really, we know that that's how I've done everything in my life is the dreaming. So it's one
Yeah.
thing to have that strategy, and that's running behind the scenes, but that's like the modeling of how somebody does what they do. But dreaming, if you don't dream, how does your mind and body know how to even give you the opportunities or show you the opportunities or whatever? And I feel like at this stage, I'm not too keen on looking back a lot. I really want to dream in some new stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think the dreaming really is critical. Like it's kind of like a given. We talked a lot about that in our last
Yeah.
session, but if you, yeah, it makes me think of the song, if you don't have a dream, how are you going to have a dream come true? It's
Can you
like,
sing it
I
for us?
won't sing it, I'll
I
just
don't
say
I
it.
don't know it though. I can't place it unless you sing it. How does it go?
No way.
Isn't
I'll
there
have
a
to look
song
it
about
up.
that? Like When You Wish Upon a Star or something by
I don't know what it's not
Disney
when you wish
song?
upon a star, but it's, I don't know.
Do you know
I
the
do know
tune?
this.
Hum it.
No.
If you don't have a dream, no, I cannot sing it on here. How are you going to have a dream come true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Anyways,
mean, the truth is, if we don't dream, we stay exactly where we are. If we can't see something beyond our situation as it is, then we will never change our lives, right? We'll just wake up every do. We'll wake up every day and do the same things over and over because what we're living is the only thing we can see.
and we're not giving our mind body instructions to get us something
Yeah.
without the dream.
Yep. So I think that this has been a really good conversation as usual. And I love the different ways that we each think. Like it's really cool that we are the same, like we have the same foundation. And obviously, we've spent our whole lives together and this very similar beliefs and all that. And then we have different ways of approaching things or different things that guide us more deeply than each other. I think it's really fun. So, thank you for this conversation, and hopefully our listeners are inspired again in some way with something that one of us or all of us have shared on their journey to whatever changes they want to make in 2026.
Thank you.
Okay, see you next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.